My tongue flicked over my lips. My mouth was dry with fear. When at last I managed to speak, my voice sounded stretchy and sad. Wow, I thought, to find the right words. Are you some kind of ghost? In your times, perhaps so, for I have been dead 1,000 years, the monk replied. But in my own, I am very much alive. Wei Han forced a feeble smile. You really scared us, she said, and so mopped sweat from his brow. You scared me more than To Sin Ru. The ancient monk raised an eyebrow. Who is To Sin Ru? Sin Ru writes the scariest stories in school, and so explained. The latest was about the killer tomatoes. It happened on a tomato farm where the giant tomatoes sucked people into their centers and the victims choked in tomato juice and seeds. The monk shook his head. I have never seen tomatoes do such a strange thing. Wei Han had forgotten her fear and short answer an impatient look. It's a story, that's all, she turned back to the monk and offered him the sweetest smile. You said you have a message for us. The young monk nodded. A message from 1,000 years before this day, he replied. Let me explain. Just before I became a monk, I had to battle an evil warlord called Guangcheng. The warlord had betrayed the emperor and taken up sorcery from an old witch. She taught him all her secrets. My last mission was to kill the warlord, but before he died, he confessed the witch's most formidable secrets. It was sealed in the 7 red packets. It enabled me to travel through time. But why did you come here? I asked, a cold tremor stirring in my stomach. To send you back to my time, the monk told us, for China has need of you in these her darkest days. The great Liao will destroy my country with his army because nobody can defeat his fighting formation that uses the heavenly gate of 72 moves. Wei Han did. But how can we help your emperor? We're just two kids. We don't know anything about war. The monk smiled at her. Did I not hear you talk about Mu Guiying? I am giving you a chance to serve her. Then he turned to me. And did I not hear you say you would like to be a famous warrior in ancient China? Then I would give you that chance. And so looked relieved. But you didn't hear me say anything, did you? So I can just stay where I am, right? Ah, and so on. The monk's ghostly hand tapped his shoulder. Like Saf Chan and Fu Wei Han, you have a name spelled with 8 letters. You are marked with luck. Within you is the great gift of courage. Wei Han glanced sideways at Ansel, who had turned pale. Are you sure? She asked skeptically. Oh yes, the young monk told her heartedly. And so is destined to be a brave leader. The 3 of you must go to Mu Guiying. You must convince her to lead the army, for she is the only one who knows the secret of the 72 moves. A frown creased his high forehead. But now it is time for you to go. China awaits your bravery. You're not coming with us? You're coming with us, right? I checked. The monk bowed his head. Alas, the 7 red packets have only given me the power to come here and fetch you, but not to return. My journey has ended. I will vanish into eternity. But if I must sacrifice myself to end the war, I am happy to do so. If I must end my life in order to send you to Mu Guiying, then I would not have died in vain. And before we could say anything, he produced red packets from the sleeves of his robe. He held the packets upside down over our heads, and streams of silver crystals descended. The silver crystals scattered over our head and shoulders. Immediately a strange sensation swept through my body, numbing my mouth, my mind, and my limbs and muscles of all movement. A question burned in my brain. How do we come back to the present? I wanted to ask him, but by then my brain was closing down. My lips were locked. My speech was impossible. Suddenly I was weightless, and my last conscious feeling was one of floating high above the library with my friends, floating high above the city until my eyelids were sealed. I was briefly aware of air rushing over my skin, and then nothing.